Well, every Friday we celebrate Forces Friday, take a look at what's happening in the military, and there have been some interesting developments in this past week. Aaron O'Toole joins us. He's the MP for Durham. And Aaron, you must be pleased that the Sea Kings are finally going to be on their way out, although you served on them, didn't you?
I did, Pat. You know, this is really the culmination of decades of changing the Sea King, updating our maritime helicopter fleet. I was an officer cadet at the Royal Military College when Jean Chrétien, as his first act as Prime Minister, canceled the Sea King replacement, the EH-101, you may recall, back in 94, 93, 94. So we're 20 years out. And the Liberal government waited till their last years in office when they announced the replacement. The program was terribly politicized. And with procurement, Pat, if you make political decisions, you will delay things 10 years. And that's what we've seen. So our government came to office, and we've been determined to make this contract work, to make sure the Cyclone has the operational capability that our Navy and our Air Force that serves the Navy requires to do their job. And we are now there. And Sikorsky has a proud history of serving the Canadian Forces with aircraft. The Sea King, of course, was a Sikorsky aircraft. So I'm excited to see this deploy in the next few years, and I know our men and women of the Air Force will do a great job with it.
Yeah, the CH-148 Cyclone is what's coming in, but how, I mean, realistically, how dangerous are the Sea Kings right now? Should we even be flying them now?
Look, that's a common question. They're not dangerous, Pat. We have some of the best maintenance crews in the world. The trouble is when you're doing 30 to 40 hours of maintenance for every hour of flight, that's not sustainable, and you can't be operationally ready, particularly when you deploy at sea. The Sea Kings fly off the back of our naval ships. So if something happens when the Navy has deployed to the Gulf or to service with NATO in Europe, that's an operational capability that's lost if it's broken down. So the Sea King, when it's flying, is a great aircraft. In fact, one of the most special things I've done as an MP is last summer in Halifax, I was there for the 50th anniversary of the Sea King. You heard that right, 50th anniversary.
Wow.
So what Canadians have to realize is when we make big ticket purchases in the billions of dollars for helicopters or fighter jets, we use these for decades, and our men and women of the Air Force rely on it. We maintain them well. So they're big ticket purchases, but we're trying to get the best equipment for our men and women.
Well, Aaron, let's see if you can make 50 for the Cyclone 50th anniversary. Let's put that one aside, because as I understand it, you just got back from D-Day. A couple of things happened, including a Wounded Warriors ride that was part of that function. Describe your feelings during the D-Day celebrations.
Well, I was honored to be part of that trip. We had almost 100 D-Day and Battle of Normandy veterans in Europe with the Prime Minister for truly special commemorations. The 70th anniversary. This will really be the last pilgrimage of its kind for the turning point of World War II. And for me, as a young veteran and a new member of Parliament, to spend time with some of these true heroes was inspiring. There was a veteran from Manitoba, an Aboriginal veteran, Francis Gooden from Brandon, with the Winnipeg Rifles. The Juno Beach Center, Pat, now stands literally about 100 meters from where he came ashore. So to see the veterans back on Juno Beach was truly special, and I think our government did it in a very classy way, and we actually had more participation per capita than Britain and the U.S. of our veterans. And so we had the international ceremonies, but we also had some very poignant ceremonies at Benny-sur-Mer, and it was a wonderful trip and an opportunity for these veterans to pay homage to their comrades that didn't return.
But it's in part why the Europeans love Canadians so much, that legacy. Aaron, Gina Phillips usually joins us on these conversations as well, because she loves Forces Friday. Gina, you had a question.
And for Aaron O'Toole. Hi, Aaron. How are you doing?
Hi, Gina.
Hi. Well, Minister Fantino recently, I think it was last month, announced a pilot project to assess the benefits and the risks associated with PTSD dogs, service dogs helping PTSD sufferers. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Absolutely. He's launched a pilot to really see how we can deploy these dogs well. We know that service dogs and therapy dogs have worked well for veterans for a whole variety of reasons. We're also trying to study how the benefit translates to people with mental injuries from service. So there's a pilot project that will then study how these therapy dogs actually particularly help people struggling with PTSD. And I've mentioned Wounded Warriors and their great work on this specific issue, particularly with service dogs. So Scott Maxwell and Wounded Warriors have done a great job. And you know, in the next week or so, I'm going out to Alberta to visit Can Praxis, a place where equine therapy is employed, where veterans in Western Canada can use horses and that sort of therapy to also help with operational stress injuries. Another great program supported by our friends at Wounded Warriors. So we've got to look at a variety of these tools to help our men and women, because there is no one-stop solution for mental injuries from service. We've got to look at a variety of ways, and that's what the minister announced. The pet therapy or the dog therapy will be one way. I'm quite keen to get to Can Praxis and see the equine therapy to see how we can help our men and women.
Very interesting. I didn't know that about the horse therapy as well.
Yeah, PTSD is one of those headline-grabbing issues when it comes to the military. The other thing that came up recently too, Aaron, and I'm asking you this literally out of the blue, because there was a Norad Scramble just this past few days in terms of Russians invading the Arctic lands. What's that all about?
Well, Pat, when I was on your program on the National Day of Honor, I said to a lot of veterans that day in the National Day of Honor, 12 years of Afghanistan came to an end, and it's almost like we rewound the tape to the Cold War. We have troops on the ground in Poland, we have F-18s deployed to Romania, and we have HMCS Regina serving with our NATO allies. And once again, we have to maintain the sovereignty of our airspace. And these sort of probing Russian bears that we all remember from the 80s and 90s seem to be back. And our F-18 has done a great job making sure that Canada can do our part as part of NORAD with our American allies to make sure that our airspace is sovereign and that we can show that we can patrol even our vast expanses in the north. And so we're back in many ways to a lot of the CF operations that we saw 2 decades ago.
Yeah, except, Aaron, I mean, do they pose a real threat, or is it just a case of remaining vigilant?
It's remaining vigilant, Pat. I think a lot of us are concerned, and I just saw your last segment on Ukraine. A lot of us are very much concerned with the Russian aggression in Ukraine. And, I've talked to a lot of our allies in Europe on this. And diplomacy always has to be the first and most important step to try and make sure that a peaceful resolution is found here and the aggression is stopped. And we have to also remain vigilant to show that NATO, as a group of allies, and NORAD and here in North America, that we take our peace and security seriously, and that we will step forward for our allies if we need to. But we're really hoping the aggression will stop, and some of this sort of Cold War-like posturing can come to an end.
Yeah. I don't expect to see it soon with that guy in Russia, but Aaron, we'll have to save that for another day. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Always great to come on. Thank you, Pat.
Aaron O'Toole joining us, MP for Durham.